healthier Australia.
We're going to move to question time now. Thank you very much. And we'll call Senator Ruston.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Minister Wong. In the lead-up to the 2022 election, the then opposition leader and now Prime Minister said, and I quote, "The idea that you can have an approved aged care package and then die waiting to actually receive it is just extraordinary." Does the Prime Minister still stand by his comments, or has he changed his mind?
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. It is the case that we were concerned in opposition and in government about aged care support for our elderly Australians and improvements that needed to be made in the aged care sector. And I think there was, I believe, cross-party understanding that the sector needed to change and to reform, and the government has sought to do that. We've made changes to improve the aged care assessment system. I would say that the system is less than a year old, and I know that the minister has announced two important improvements, in particular to the way aged care assessments work. I'm advised that there is a rapid—
Minister Wong. Senator Ruston.
On a matter or point of relevance, I merely asked the minister whether the statements of the Prime Minister in 2022, whether he still stands by those comments or whether he's changed his mind.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Wong, please continue.
Senator, I think you have worked in this sector and you know the problems with the old assessment processes. They weren't fair or consistent, and Australians were left waiting. What we have done is tripled the number of home care packages, 420,000 by the end of this financial year. So it's triple what was provided in 2020. Secondly, it is the case that we know that the ageing of the population means that a number of people needing help at home is increasing. We are working to bring down wait times across the board.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
On a point of order, my question was very simple. It didn't stray to any of the things the minister is talking about. I was wondering whether you could bring the minister back to the question, the specific question that was asked of her.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Wong, please continue.
Well, Senator, you asked me about an aged care package. I'm entitled to tell you, and I would have thought you'd be interested in what we're trying to do on aged care packages. What I would say is that wait times across the wait times are coming down for support at home places since the new system started in November. Of course, we absolutely want to deliver the care people need.
Expired. Senator Ruston, first supplementary.
I suggest the minister gets better briefed. Given his comments, does the Prime Minister know how many people died while waiting for an aged care package in the year 2025-26?
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Minister Wong.
Well, first, I would express, regret that anyone would pass without getting the support they need.
Yes,
I would.
It was
of course, I would. And I think we all understand, and some of us have had, people in this chamber would have had personal experience, and others in the community, of people being in the position where they don't get the care they need. And what I can say is the government is very conscious.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Once again, on relevance, President, I asked only one question. The minister has gone nowhere near answering whether the Prime Minister is aware how many people died last year while waiting for a home care package.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. The minister is being relevant to your question, and I'll keep listening carefully.
Well,
order. 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 When you're quite finished, Senator McKenzie, I'll call the minister again. Minister Wong.
Thank you. I again say, it is a matter of sadness that people in this country, under both governments, have not been able to receive care in time. What I would say is that the Minister and the Government are working hard to ensure that we provide more places, that we reduce wait times, and that we respond to the fact that the ageing population does call for more care.
Senator Ruston, second supplementary.
I will ask again. Does the Prime Minister know how many older Australians died while waiting for an approved home care package in 2025-26? And if you don't know the answer, will you take it on notice and provide me with an answer by tomorrow?
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Order, order, order. Order. Minister Wong.
I'm always, always would be am willing to do the Senate the courtesy of adding to an answer if I can, Senator. But I'd again say to you, all of us understand that there are real pressures on aged care. There have been for years. We all know the grief and trauma that comes from having older Australians.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Thank you, President. I would just ask if the minister is prepared to take it on notice.
Senator Ruston, that's not a
that
point
was
of order.
my only question.
Thank you. Thank you. Minister, please continue.
Well, I again go, but this is about people, and we understand it's about people. It's not about politics, it's about people, and that is why the government has put additional funds into aged care. The minister is working hard to implement a new system. I absolutely accept that system is not delivering.
Senator Ruston, you need to be listening in respectful silence, thank you, and other senators who were also disorderly.
Thank you, President. I accept that this system needs to deliver more. We all understand that. We also understand the challenges, and that is what the minister is working through, and that is why the government has put more resources into the system.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Stewart.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. Superannuation was designed to give every working Australian savings of their own to retire with. 4 decades later, it has changed what retirement looks like in this country. What is superannuation for, and what has it delivered for working Australians? And how is Albanese Labor government strengthening the system for workers today and those still to come?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Stewart for the question. It's an important one, and I know that those on this side of the chamber will always argue to strengthen and protect Australia's superannuation system. Now, back in the early 1990s, when a Labor government designed compulsory superannuation, it was all about reducing the reliance on the aged pension, making sure that the aged pension is one of the most sustainable pension systems in the world. And I think, in any international comparison, Australia's retirement system shows Australia to be one of the best in the world, despite the claims from those opposite. Now, Labor has built superannuation and we have strengthened it since being in government. We've increased the superannuation guarantee to 12%. We've ensured that super is paid at the same time as wages, closing loopholes that denied workers their entitlements. And we're paying super on government-funded paid parental leave, improving equity, especially for women. And I know the Assistant Treasurer continues to work on other areas like important consumer protections, which there will be further announcements about in the future. So in relation to the low-income super tax offset, we have put that better targeted super concessions for large balances over $10 million as well through the tax reform changes that we have put in place. But when it comes to LISTO, around which we joined with that higher balance change, around 1.3 million Australians will benefit from the boost to the low-income super tax offset, including around 750,000 women and around 550,000 young people who will receive a boost of up to $810 per year to their superannuation account once they receive that. This means a benefit at retirement of up to $15,000, depending on their earnings over their career.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Stewart, first supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Minister. From 1 July, employers must pay superannuation at the same time as wages. What difference will Payday Super make to Australians' retirement savings and to workers who have been missing out?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I welcome that question too, because the reforms for Payday Super are really important. They began on the 1st of July this year, and when we look back at some of the advice from the ATO, found that in a typical unpaid super case, a worker could miss out on 2 years' worth of superannuation contributions, and Payday Super, or paying super on payday, acts to fix this. So for the average 35-year-old worker, they could reduce, if they were had not had their super paid, they would reduce their retirement savings by about $32,000 in today's dollars. But Payday Super will address that and ensure that they are receiving their super when they receive their pay, and that money is going into their superannuation account to work for them.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Stewart, second supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Minister. Compulsory superannuation is changing the lives of Australians and helping ensure a dignified retirement. How is the Albanese Labor government working to strengthen and defend Australia's world-leading superannuation system, and what threatens this work?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Stewart for that question. Well, I've gone through the ways that the Albanese Labor government is strengthening our world-leading superannuation system, and those on this side of the chamber will always stand up to protect and strengthen the compulsory superannuation system in this country, despite the claims from those opposite with all their ideological attack on superannuation. And we've seen that since super was originally thought of in the early 90s. We saw it then, Senator Bragg, and every step of the way, freezing the guarantee, the early release super account, the super for housing idea, and now the most recent attacks where you team up with One Nation, where you try to outdo each other and bring down the superannuation system. And I find it ironic, actually, that those that argue the loudest against compulsory super always seem to have pretty good superannuation arrangements themselves. It's all right for you, but it's just not good enough for working Australians.
Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Canavan.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Minister, yesterday I joined Liberal and Nationals members of Parliament in meeting veterans who had travelled from across Australia to plead with this government about its new $5,000 allied health threshold. These men and women put the uniform on for our country, they served our nation and were prepared to put their lives on the line for Australia. Yet, incredibly, the Minister for Veterans Affairs initially refused to meet them, claiming he was too busy. It was only after the member for Riverina, Michael McCormack, called him out in question time yesterday that he finally agreed to see them. This morning, veteran Dr Tim Nelson said that at that meeting, the minister, and I quote from Tim, walked into the room, refused to shake our hands, sat down with his arms crossed and rolled his eyes. As veterans told him about the devastating impact they fear this change is already having. Dr Nelson said they even raised with the Minister 4 veteran suicides, which they believe are connected to the distress around this change.
Senator Canavan, the time for asking has expired. Minister Wong. The minister's asked you to finish your question.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, these veterans should never have had to beg their own government to listen to them. Will the Prime Minister show these veterans respect and meet them today and listen to them himself?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator. And can I first acknowledge you asked this question on, I think, today's Vietnam Veterans Day, 60 years since the Battle of Long Tan, and I was aware of the delegation because I met, maybe I shouldn't say who she was, but someone who I know has been active on this issue on the plane from Canberra who explained the issue to me, and I'm sure what I would say is that the Prime Minister is always honoured to meet veterans, and the government recognises the obligation on any government that when Australians are prepared to serve our country in conflict, that they should be looked after properly when they return. And we have made a range of changes and additional funds into Veterans Affairs to keep faith with that commitment. The advice I have on the access to allied health services is that veterans will continue to have access to those services above the $5,000 threshold where there is a clinical need, and that our priority as a government is to ensure veterans receive high-quality care that supports their health and well-being, not limit their access to treatment. In relation to the Prime Minister's engagement, as I said, the Prime Minister does engage regularly with Veterans Group. I'm sure that he will continue to engage with veterans groups, not only this one but others, as he has always done.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Canavan, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Minister, Dr Nelson also said this morning that the Veterans Affairs Minister told them, and I quote, he was missing an appointment, a quote from Tim, just to be clear, he was missing an appointment with the Governor-General, which he was very upset about. Minister, why did Labor's Veterans Affairs Minister think that a meeting at Government House was more important than listening to veterans in distress over your government's decision to cap their allied health services at $5,000 per year?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong.
Well, Senator, I'm not in a position to respond to some of those. I understand that Minister Keogh may have responded to some of those. I would just say, as a matter of principle, all of us should and do and seek to treat our veterans with respect. I repeat my comments about the allied health services. The advice I have is that the threshold is not a hard threshold if there is a clinical need, and so the veterans can continue in those circumstances to receive the help they need, which is the government's priority.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Canavan, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Minister, retired veteran Andrew Hudson said of your government's decision this morning that, I quote, no consideration was given to the impact upon the veteran community. It's already started to take lives and it's not even in place yet. Minister, media are now reporting that the government is considering scrapping its veterans' health cap. Is this true? Will the Prime Minister scrap this $5,000 threshold today before it causes veterans even more distress?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Wong.
I know with what weight the government and the Prime Minister give the views of veterans and their families. I'm sure they will be the position that has been put will be considered very carefully, and I understand the group has met with the Prime Minister's office, so I'm sure that the Prime Minister will be appraised, if he has not already been, of the issues, and I respect the motivation in asking this, Senator. I think we all want to ensure that our veterans are properly supported.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hanson-Young.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Minister, what would Peter Murphy say?
Thank you, Senator Hanson-Young. Minister Wong. I am advised, Senator Hanson-Young, that it is impossible to align your statement to a ministerial portfolio. I'm also advised that that then rules out your first and second supplementary. Senator Hanson-Young, you're not in a debate with me. I sought advice and I've advised the chamber. Senator Walker.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Youth, Senator Walsh. This week, 150 young Australians from every federal electorate across the country are in Canberra for the first National Youth Parliament. They are gaining first-hand experience of our democracy and talking about the issues that matter to their generation. Young Australians have told us that they are concerned about the cost of living, housing and their future financial security. Can the Minister update the Senate on how the Albanese Labor government is listening to young Australians, and how is the government taking action to address the concerns they've raised?
Thank you, Senator Walker. Minister Walsh.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you, Senator Walker, for your question. And of course, there could be no better person to ask this question than the youngest senator ever elected to this parliament. Yeah. And it is wonderful to have some of our youth representatives here in the gallery today, and we welcome you here. Yeah. This week, 150 young people are at Old Parliament House conducting parliamentary business of their own, while we do the same here in this chamber and in the other place. There is one from every federal electorate holding their own question time, hopefully a little bit better mannered than our own, debating ideas and talking about the issues that matter to them, because young Australians are not just our future, they are shaping Australia right now, today. And the Albanese Labor government is listening to young Australians. We know that young people want to earn more, they want to keep more of what they earn, and they want to get ahead too. And that's why we're delivering higher wages and secure jobs across the nation. We have delivered 5 consecutive pay rises for minimum wage workers, many of whom are young workers. We have delivered new protections for gig economy workers, many of whom are young workers, and big shout-out and congratulations to Senator Tony Sheldon for all of his advocacy on this issue. We've protected penalty rates in legislation. We have made wage theft a crime, and these are all important protections for young workers, because they do deserve to earn more and they deserve to keep more of what they earn too, which is why we have delivered 5 tax cuts as well. And to help young Australians get ahead, our housing reforms give them the opportunity to achieve the Australian dream and buy their own home, just like their parents did.
Senator Walker, first supplementary.
Young Australians deserve the same chances that previous generations had. They deserve a fair start in life and a secure future. How is the Albanese Labor government delivering real opportunities for young Australians?
Thank you, Senator Walker. Minister Walsh.
Thank you. And we know that young Australians do want that fair start and they do want that secure future, just like their parents had. And Labor is delivering real change so the next generation gets those opportunities. They deserve the opportunity to go to university, and that's why we've cut HECS debt by 20% and made HECS indexation fairer too. They deserve free TAFE. They deserve paid prac. And they deserve the opportunity to buy their own home. So our housing reforms will help them get that key in the door. Labor is backing young people to help them get ahead. And now let's just look at the alternative. Whether it's One Nation or the Coalition, they are against every measure that helps young people get ahead in this country. They are against higher wages, they are against more secure jobs, they're against free TAFE, they're against paid prac, they're against helping young people buy a home. They don't back young people. We do.
Senator Walker, second supplementary.
The Albanese Labor government is helping young Australians build a secure future. What are the obstacles standing in the way of the future economic security of young people?
Thank you, Senator Walker. Minister Walsh.
Well, thank you, Senator Walker. And of course, it is those opposite, all of those opposite. They oppose reforms to benefit young people at every turn. Here's all of the things that they don't like, and you can tell just how much they don't like them right now. They don't like higher wages, they don't like more secure jobs, they don't like tax cuts, they don't like free TAFE, they don't like paid prac, they don't like helping young people buy a home. Seems like there is an awful lot that they don't like when it comes to helping young Australians. So what are they actually for? Well, according to Senator Hanson today, they're for cheaper cigarettes and raiding your super. A smoko break right now and retiring in poverty later. That is One Nation's vision for young Australians. Young Australians deserve better, and only Labor is delivering the real change that young Australians deserve.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Lambie.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is for the Minister representing the Attorney-General, Minister Farrell. The Albanese government came to the office promising greater transparency and a promise to sweep away the culture of secrecy. FOI requests granted full access. That means, with nothing blacked out, has dropped to just 25%. And at the same time, independent reviews have found that more than half of FOI blackouts were actually not legally justified. This is a serious deterioration in transparency and accountability in your government. What mandatory training requirements must FOI decision-makers meet to ensure they understand the FOI Act and that they don't deny access to information we are legally entitled to?
Thank you, Senator Lambie. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Lambie for her question. I do reject your fundamental proposition that this government is not doing enough on transparency. I'll give you an example in my own portfolio, Senator Lambie, where we have made changes to the electoral laws of this country, which will come into operation on the 1st of January next year, which will require any donors to political parties to disclose those donations within 7 days of them being granted, and at a much lower threshold than is currently the place. But to answer the specifics of your question, the government does seek to update the FOI rules. I'm not particularly au fait with what training officials get in this regard, and I'm happy to investigate that and come back to you with a formal response, Senator Lambie. I do know that Mr. Rex Patrick has made a business out of working for...
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Lambie.
A point of order. This is not about Rex Patrick. This is about everyday Australians and your FOIs and your secrecy.
Thank you.
This is what this is about.
Thank you, Senator Lambie. The minister is being directly relevant to your question, and I'll continue to listen carefully. Minister Farrell, please continue.
Thank you, President. But look, can I say this, Senator Lambie? The way in which individuals like Rex Patrick are abusing the FOI system means that...
Senator Lambie, the way you raise a point of order is stand. If I don't notice you immediately, the clerk will advise me that you're standing. So I understand you have a point of order.
Point of order. This is about everyday Australians, and you saying that he abuses the process. Maybe it's because you're abusing secrecy and transparency.
Senator Lambie,
enough of Patrick.
Your seat. That is a debating point. The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Farrell, please continue.
Thank you, President. But look, this government wants to modernise the FOI system so that those people who genuinely want reasonable information out of the system can get it and can get it quickly.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Lambie, first supplementary.
Thank you. With all due respect, Minister, whilst you're out there at your winery, you can understand, you might want to know, there is no mandatory training requirements, and there lays your problem. How much taxpayer money did the Commonwealth spend last year defending FOI refusals that were subsequently overturned by an independent authority? That is, the decision was wrong.
Thank you, Senator Lambie. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. And can I say you and Rex are most welcome to come out to the vineyard in the Clare Valley at any time. I know you're spending a lot of time in South Australia, so that would be an opportunity to come and visit. But
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Lambie.
Just so we're quite clear, point of order. I haven't been in South Australia for well over 12 months.
Senator Lambie, that is a debating point. Minister Farrell.
Well, you're welcome at any time, Senator Lambie. But But the government recognises freedom of information is a vital feature of our democracy. But the fact of the matter, Senator Lambie, is that the system does require updating. The system must be made more efficient and effective for those people who are genuinely seeking information to protect the safety of public servants, save taxpayers' money on vexatious requests, and ensure that our freedom of information laws cannot be exploited.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Lambie, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Access to documents through the FOI Act is clear, and their release is not to be hindered by political embarrassment. Will the government establish a means of accessing the suitability of FOI decision-makers to access documents when their decisions have been found to be wrong by an independent authority?
Thank you, Senator Lambie. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Lambie for her second supplementary question. Well, the whole point of the government's review of the FOI system, Senator Lambie, is to make it more fit for purpose. So to the extent that changes are necessary, and we believe that changes are necessary because there are people out there who are vexatiously or maliciously using the system currently. That wasn't the original purpose of the FOI laws. It shouldn't be the current purpose of the FOI laws. I'm happy on behalf of the Attorney-General to engage with you, Senator Lambie.
Mr Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Lambie.
Yeah, just a point of order. I just asked the question if the government intends to establish a means of accessing the suitability of FOI decisions when the decisions from the independent authority are incorrect.
Thank you, Senator Lambie.
Yes or no?
The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. Senator Lambie, I'm offering you the opportunity to engage with myself on behalf of the Attorney-General.
The time for answering has expired. Senator David Pocock.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Science. Minister, I refer to the Assistant Minister's speech on AI today at the Crawford School about, and I quote, how we ensure that Australia captures the economic benefits of AI. Minister, there was no mention in this speech of ensuring large multinational tech companies pay their fair share of tax in this country. We know that these big tech companies are experts at offshoring profits and minimising their taxable income in Australia. Noting the Assistant Minister's point that local Australian companies built world-leading mining services businesses, governments collected taxes and royalties. My question is, are we doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the mining boom and of gas exports by failing to capture a benefit for Australians if you're not actually talking about the long-term benefits when it comes to tax return?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
I think, Senator, thank you for the question, President. The Assistant Minister Charlton's speech would have, I expect, gone to the government's priorities in this area. I take the point about questions around taxation arrangements for large tech companies, and I suppose they are ultimately a question that would be directed towards the Minister representing the Treasury here. But I can say for the government's part, every firm that invests in Australia is required to pay their fair share of tax. And Australia has led around the world, including in the OECD processes, as we try to develop an approach that is fair and consistent around multinational tax arrangements. You will be aware, and the Assistant Minister's speech went to these issues, what the focus of the government's approach is in relation to legislating artificial intelligence standards, in particular for data centres, and what it is that motivates and mobilises the national interest around those questions. It does go to making sure that we capture the benefits of this technology for Australia and for Australians, for capturing the economic resilience benefits of that, for our future security, making sure that data centre investments occur in the right places and are a net positive for the rollout of our new modern electricity grid.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you for that, Minister. The Assistant Minister made some really strong points about the AI value chain and how Australians spend a lot on AI subscriptions, but we're not necessarily competing when it comes to the AI stack. 80% of the benefit of that goes offshore. The thing I hear from Australian companies is that it's very hard to sell to the government. Will the government mandate sovereign Australian capability and companies in procurement so that this doesn't continue to be the case?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
Well, that question that you go to really goes to the heart of the government's agenda here, to make sure that while it is important for Australia's economic resilience, for our security, for the capability of our economy, that we capture as much artificial intelligence training investment here in Australia as possible. It is also equally important that those other elements of what the people in the sector call the technology stack, all the way from the critical minerals to metals processing, things like advanced chip manufacturing, the tech company, the tech startups, and the benefits for our research and development system are captured here in Australia to deliver maximum benefit for Australians.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. I'm interested if you think it's a problem that it doesn't sound like you've read Assistant Minister's speech, but he says the most urgent economic question before us is how Australia remains a first-ranked nation in a world shaped by AI. I think many people would agree with that. Why is Mr Charlton not a full cabinet minister? Why do we have an assistant minister in charge of AI, given the importance of it?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
Well, what this question does give me an opportunity to do, Senator Pocock, is, of course, I am touched, as I'm sure Assistant Minister Charlton will be, by your positive reflections upon his speech. He is a very capable Assistant Minister and Cabinet Secretary, as it happens. And I can tell you it is one of the real joys of my job, which has many benefits, to be working with someone as capable and as ambitious for Australia and on this question, our critical technology capabilities, whether it's artificial intelligence or quantum, wrestling with the challenges that represents for Australia and Australians, but also the opportunities too.
Senator Pocock.
Just a point of order on relevance. My question was, should the Minister responsible for AI be in Cabinet?
Thank you, Senator Pocock, and there was a preamble. The minister's being relevant to your question. Minister Ayres, please continue. Senator McKenzie, come to order. Minister Ayres.
He is a very capable Assistant Minister. He is a Cabinet Secretary. He is very influential in my office, I can tell you, when he works with me on these issues.
Thank you, Minister.
And very influential within government.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Whitten.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Veterans Affairs. Today is Vietnam Veterans Day, and Labor has chosen to cap the Veteran Allied Health Services to $5,000 a year in the 26-27 budget. Since the announcement, there has been an outcry from the veteran community, especially those in the regions. Many veterans in remote regions note that the cap will be chewed up on travel, leaving barely anything left over for the actual treatments. Yesterday, the Minister for Veterans Affairs refused to consider revising the cap, despite veterans not being able to access the care that they need. Can the Minister, who has refused to help veterans, explain why they refuse to help these brave warriors and their families who are going to suffer under these caps?
Thank you, Senator Whitten. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President. And Senator Whitten began his question by referencing Vietnam Veterans Day, and I might take the opportunity, Senator, to acknowledge that we do mark Vietnam Veterans Day today. It is 60 years since the Battle of Long Tan. On that day, 18 Australians lost their lives, 24 more were wounded. And it is the case that for many years this was a day that served as an unofficial commemoration for Vietnam veterans. It was Prime Minister Bob Hawke who named the 18th of August as Vietnam Veterans Day in 1987, and I'm sure senators across the chamber join together in acknowledging and honouring the service of all of those people who returned and all of those who didn't. You ask about the changes to allied health funding. We do want to ensure that veterans have access to high-quality health services that support their health and support their well-being. And we also acknowledge the incredible work that is undertaken by the thousands of providers who treat veterans and their families. For that reason, we are making the most significant payment increase for allied health services provided to veterans in 20 years. And the increase to fees paid to providers will expand the network of allied health professionals that are available to veterans. It will improve access to care, Senator. It will promote greater treatment options for veterans, and the increase to fees for allied health providers delivering services to veterans will include physiotherapy, psychology, occupational therapy, podiatry and other allied health professionals. And this measure provides a robust response to the recommendation number 71 of the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide, which called for an increase in DVA's fee schedules. Senator, we are also reducing the burden on veterans to go back to a GP every 12 health visits for a new referral, and instead expanding this to a $5,000 threshold before veterans care.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Whitten, first supplementary.
We've heard from veterans groups that DVA assessments are being funnelled through the MLCOA, who holds the sole supplier contract with DVA. Veterans want to have the right to choose their own assessor, practitioners who know them and who they are comfortable with. Will the Labor government commit to providing veterans with a dignity of choice over their own care instead of funnelling them through Labor's preferred suppliers?
Thank you, Senator Whitten. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President. Senator, your question starts from a somewhat incorrect premise in that it is already the case that DVA prefers that compensation medical reports are prepared by the veteran's usual treating doctor. That is the starting point for DVA. That is because that doctor is engaged in their ongoing care and focused on enhancing their well-being. And it recognises, as your question indicates, that that treating provider's clinical knowledge of the veteran is important, and will also it helps by minimising unnecessary appointments and duplication. However, on occasion, independent medical exams are required, and that is where a veteran cannot access a medical provider, where the information that has been provided is incomplete or unclear, or where a claim is particularly complex or additional medical information is required to support a decision. In every case, whether it is an independent medical examination or a treating practitioner...
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Whitten, second supplementary.
We ask these brave men and women to run at bullets. Our freedom, our safety and our security are paid for with their blood and sacrifice. But when they leave active service, often broken and hurt by what they've experienced, they are treated as second-class citizens. They are looked at as a liability on a budget line item. This isn't good enough. Will Labor change its position and commit to treating these warriors with the respect that they deserve and provide them with the post-care that they need?
Thank you, Senator Whitten. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President. Well, this government is committed to improving the lives of Australia's veterans and families by providing them with the support that they need and that, in fact, they deserve. Because veterans answer the call to service and they make sacrifices for this nation, Senator. And our government understands that. We want to ensure that veterans do have access to high-quality health services and a system that is fair and efficient and focused on veteran well-being. That is the basis of the increases we are making to the fees for treating professionals. As I indicated in my answer to your primary question, it's the single largest change in 20 years, and it responds directly to the recommendation that was put before us by the Royal Commission. We want veterans to have the care that they need. We want them to be able to do it without unnecessarily returning to their GP.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Cox.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Indigenous Australians, Senator McCarthy. The dignity of work through employment is critical in building a stronger future for remote communities and creating long-term economic opportunities. Can the Minister update the Senate on how the Albanese Labor government remote jobs and economic development program is delivering jobs in remote communities across Australia?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Cox for the question. I know that she does a lot in Western Australia as a senator there, along with her colleagues in terms of the remote regions. We promised at the last election, President, to create 3,000 jobs in remote communities, and I am incredibly proud to update the Senate that we have delivered on that commitment with the approval of our 3,000th job. From Central Australia to Arnhem Land, the APY lands, Cape York and the Torres Strait, we're providing the dignity of real work with proper pay and conditions like sick leave, annual leave and, are you listening, Senator Bragg, superannuation. Whoa. Importantly, we aren't telling communities what job they must have. We are working with communities to develop sustainable industries that respond to their needs and aspirations. We are creating jobs in everything from construction and agriculture to healthcare, retail and administration. We aren't dictating what form these jobs take. They're a mix of part-time, full-time and casual roles, providing flexibility to meet the needs of the individuals taking them up and the communities that they live in. We've delivered on our election commitment to create 3,000 jobs in remote communities. But due to the success of the program, President, we are not stopping there. The Prime Minister announced at the start of this year, as part of closing the gap, that we're going to double that number, creating 6,000 jobs by the end of the decade. And that means thousands more First Nations people having the opportunity to access the dignity of work. The Albanese Labor government knows the enormous potential of our remote First Nations communities, and that's what this investment is all about.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cox, first supplementary.
Thank you, President, and that's great news, Minister. And we know that behind each one of those 3,000 jobs are individuals, families and communities benefiting from new employment opportunities and everything that that brings with it. What has been the feedback on the ground from people working in jobs created through the Remote Jobs and Economic Development Program?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McCarthy. Sorry.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, President. I'm sure Minister McAllister would like to share this story as well. Behind every one of these numbers is a person we are providing the dignity of work for. Michael from Tiwi Enterprises, lawn mowing crew on the Tiwi Islands, told me everything's starting to look better for us. When I asked him what he liked about his job, Michael said, every day just coming to work, I can save money for my kids, my partner and my family, which is really important to me. Samantha, who's got a job with Beam Aware on Wooroomianga, said of her first time on the sewing machine, when I first put my foot on this pedal, that's when I got excited and that's when I kept going. And recently we just saw so much artwork from both Wooroomianga, from Daly River, all these places in terms of fashion, Indigenous fashion.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cox, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. The Albanese Labor government has now funded those 3,000 new jobs in remote communities and is committed to doubling that number to 6,000 by the end of the decade. Are there any obstacles standing in the way of the government's approach to investing in jobs and economic development in our remote communities?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Obstacles? Oh, let me tell you about those obstacles, Senator Cox. It was good to see the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians, Julian Leeser, attend Garma this year. In his speech, he described our 6,000 jobs. Oh, they're awake. They're awake. in his speech, he described the 6,000 jobs in remote communities as not ambitious enough. 6,000 jobs, not ambitious enough. We must do better than that, he said. Well, let me go back to the Coalition's record. You promised 1,000 jobs. How many did you deliver? Oh, let me remember.
Bragg.
Let me think. Yeah, no, they were a bit higher than that. It was around 300.
Please resume your seat. I'm sorry to interrupt. Senator Bragg, it is not your role in here in question time to, one, answer me back, and two, to try and that's it, thank you, out loud the minister. And I'd ask you to listen in respectful silence. Minister, please continue.
Rifled everywhere you turn.
Thank you, President. I can be pretty loud when I feel like it too. It's okay, Senator Bragg. We can have it out inside the building or outside the building. You guys delivered 350. You said you'd deliver 1,000. You couldn't do it. You say 6,000 is too ambitious. Well, let's show your numbers.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Minister, 96-year-old Audrey Staniland is blind, has emphysema and lives alone in the Perth home that she has lived in for 43 years. Audrey's health has deteriorated over recent years. Yet after reassessing her using your government's assessment tool, your government's algorithm decided she needed no more funding than she was receiving 12 years ago. Her daughter challenged that decision. Audrey was assessed again. The answer was the same. The algorithm said no. Minister, how can a 96-year-old blind woman living at home alone with emphysema and other serious health needs deteriorate significantly over more than a decade, yet your government system still concludes she needs no additional support? If the system gets a case like Audrey so badly wrong, how can any older Australian have confidence in it?
Thank you, Senator Colbeck. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Certainly, and I'm sorry, I don't recall her surname, but Audrey's case sounds extremely distressing. But what I would say is that we agree that every older Australian should be able to promptly access the aged care needs that they require. I understand Ms Staniland this case has been raised with is something the Minister is aware of. I'm advised that Minister Ray has asked the department to look into the circumstances raised by Ms Staniland and her family. I would make the point that, well, the principle should be that Australians are entitled to expect they can promptly access aged care appropriate for their needs, and I acknowledge that more work needs to be done, and the Minister is working through the implementation of a system that is new, a system which also saw in this budget the investment of an additional $3.7 billion in aged care. $3.7 billion in aged care. And I'll take the interjection from Senator Ruston, who insists on forgetting that you presided over a period in aged care which a Royal Commission described as neglect. So you know, for you to come in here, Senator Ruston, in the way you have, you ought to remember and bear on your conscience that you presided in your government over a system that was described as neglect. We are putting in an additional $3.7 billion just in this budget, and we are working to ensure more care is provided. The position that Ms Staniland was in is not what we want older Australians to experience, and Minister Ray has asked that the matter be reviewed.
Senator Colbeck, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, Professor Cathy Eager, AM, a leading Australian expert on healthcare assessment systems, examined Audrey's case and described the algorithm as fundamentally, completely flawed. Yet Minister Ray says the system offers the best outcome for all people. So answer this plainly. Does the Albanese government seriously believe that this was the best outcome for 96-year-old Audrey?
Senator Colbeck. Minister Wong.
I've already said that I think Ms Staniland and her family are entitled to expect a different experience to the one you have described, and I have already said that the matter has been referred to the department. I would make the point that the Minister has announced 2 important improvements in the way aged care assessments work. One, the rapid review of the prioritisation system, which is due, I think, next month. And the second is a legislated review process so that the level of care provided can be changed if their needs and circumstances have not been properly captured in the assessment process. I'd also make the point that we on this side have ensured, just in this budget, that $3.7 billion additional has been put into aged care.
Come to order,
Senator Ruston. If I remind you about neglect, you want to talk about a mess in aged care. You only need to see what occurred.
Thank you, Minister Wong. The time has expired. Order. Senator Colbeck, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, this Senate passed a private senator's bill to allow a qualified assessor to override the algorithm when it produces an obviously wrong outcome. Your government rejected it. And in terms of the waiting list and waiting times that older Australians are now experiencing, they are the worst they have ever been. How many more cases like Audrey's does the Prime Minister need before it admits that the system is broken and lets human judgment override the computer?
Thank you, Senator Colbeck. Minister Wong.
Again, I would say we are making changes to improve the aged care system, and as part of that, obviously, we will continue to listen to the experiences of older Australians' families and those who work in aged care. Senator Ruston, could I just answer the question without you constantly talking at me? Is that possible?
Order.
Really?
Order. I have, on a number of occasions, called the Senate to order, and in particular to you, Senator Ruston. If you can't listen in silence, I invite you to leave the chamber. Minister Wong, please continue.
I'll try again. This government does believe older Australians are entitled to dignity and care. This government does know that hard decisions have to be made, including some measures that those opposite opposed, to find the savings to put into the aged care system, and we will continue to do that. You are...
Senator...
Seriously, it's not...
Senator Ruston, I just sat the minister down halfway through her... Senator McKenzie, order. And Senator Watt, come to order. Come to order. Order. On my left and my right, thank you, Senator Ayres. If I call you by name, I would expect you to continue to listen in silence or to come to silence and not continue being so disrespectful. Minister, had you finished your answer?
I will try again and make this point. The government does believe that older Australians deserve dignity and respect. The government does recognise that we have to put more funds and more resources into the aged care system, and the government recognises that we need to improve the way the assessments.
Senator Sterle.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister, representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. The Albanese Labor government is delivering real change for Australian workers by helping Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn. How is the government, Minister, backing wage rises across the country to support Aussie workers?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks Senator Sterle, who's one of the many Labor senators who's devoted his entire working life to assisting Australian workers get ahead. I might not take Senator Bragg's suggestion that I freelance. Didn't seem to work out that well for him, so I might stick to my notes. The Albanese, the one-man think tank, very, very lonely think tank it is. The Albanese Labor government is helping Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn by lifting wages and cutting taxes for workers. We've seen strong wage growth for years under our government, and we know that enterprise agreements continue to be a key source of wages growth for Australian workers. Senator Bragg, you might want to stick around and learn something about Australian workers. And that's why our efforts to reinvigorate bargaining are so important. For 2 years in a row, our government has strongly advocated to the Independent Fair Work Commission for an economically sustainable real wage rise for Australia's minimum and award wage workers, and the recent decision by the Commission to increase the national minimum wage and modern awards by at least 4.75% will deliver a real wage increase from July the 1st for almost 2.7 million Australian workers around the country. Now compare that to the Coalition, who for a decade deliberately kept wages low, and Senator Canavan is assuring us that that's the way he wants things to stay. The Liberal Party even admitted that keeping wages low was part of their economic architecture. And of course, One Nation have worked hand in hand with the Liberals to oppose every move by Labor to support Aussie workers getting a real pay rise. Only Labor is committed to increasing the pay packets of working Australians to deal with the cost of living pressures now and to help them in their retirement through universal superannuation. Labor created superannuation, and it's Labor that believes in it. And that's why the Albanese government has strengthened our superannuation system to deliver a better retirement for working Australians, all the while opposed by the combined forces of the Liberals, the Nationals and One Nation, who only this week have confirmed their determination to tear super down.
Senator Sterle, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Australians are doing it tough right now with cost of living pressures continuing to impact families around the country. What else is the Albanese Labor government doing to ensure Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn? And what obstacles are standing in their way?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Sterle. Well, you're right. The Albanese Labor government is tackling inflation and delivering cost of living relief to all Australian families. We've locked in a tax cut for every taxpayer, cheaper medicines and more bulk billing, funding to build more homes, and we're getting wages moving again. But what is One Nation's answer to help workers with the cost of living? Well, funnily enough, it bears a very close similarity to their allies in the Liberal and National parties, because all three of these parties have opposed increases to the minimum wage, they support scrapping penalty rates, and they want to make it easier to sack you because they think you're lazy. And now they are coming after your superannuation. Because the truth is the Liberals and One Nation are two sides of the same coin. In every way that matters, the Liberals and One Nation are already in coalition, and that's because they share an agenda. They are both determined to cut wages, to cut superannuation and to cut cost of living relief that Australians need.
Thank you, Minister. Order! Senator Sterle, second supplementary.
Thank you. Boosting the wages of working Australians is one of the best ways to help people with those cost of living pressures.
Absolutely.
Can the minister outline the other ways in which the government is backing workers to keep more of what they earn throughout their career and beyond?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Sterle. Well, the Albanese Labor government is backing workers with tax cuts, higher wages and a strengthened superannuation system. The Liberals, Nationals and One Nation will take an axe to your wages and superannuation if they get the chance. We know that Senator Bragg told the National Press Club that contributing to your super was a loss of liberty. He also said he'd wished he'd done more to stop the madness during his time inside the Morrison government. I don't know what he must think about what's going on over there at the moment then. Senator Bragg then went on to call for a revolution, called the Labor Party communists 8 or 9 times and compared young workers to cats and dogs. It really was a big day out, wasn't it? It's as unhinged as Senator Roberts calling same job, same pay poison, or Senator Hanson saying women can only get pregnant for the money. This is the divisive and chaotic coalition that is coming for Australian workers, because they can only form government with each other and they share a desire to cut Australians' wages, superannuation and cost of living relief. Only Labor is delivering the real change Australians need.
Time for answering has expired. Minister Watt.
I ask that further questions be placed on notice.
Thank you.